And I think what's really important here is who's on the play.
That's a big part of this matchup for sure. Also, Sylvan Caryatid, Kassari with 4 copies in his list. And that's his most important card, especially with Kassari being on the draw for game 1.
Easily. Chat's on the play, and we will be underway here in just a moment. Red-white aggro, most played deck in day 2 of our last 2 standard opens. We were in Washington, D.C., and when we were in Houston. We'll see if that's the case at the conclusion of day 1.
And it feels like we don't see, relative to the amount that we see on camera, it doesn't feel like red-white is the most popular deck in the room.
Not at all.
But it just has been in a lot of the opens.
Well, the big thing here is just not a lot of name players really playing. You think of D.C., Ross Merriam was one player, and of course Danny Goldstein in the finals of the tournament, but you don't see Brad and Todd and all those guys really playing red-white. I know Chris Vandermeter's gravitated that way, selected author Mark Nestico, who won a PTQ with it, but we don't see him on the Open Series a lot because he's in the Florida area. So even though it's been putting up a lot of numbers, it's still waiting, I think, for that breakout finish, that big win.
Yeah, I still don't feel like we've seen the full strength of this deck on the Open Series.
I'll tell you, Sam Black loves it. He wrote a fantastic article about the deck on the premium side of Star City Games on Friday for his preparation for a Grand Prix this week and of just all the different ways he wants to go about building the deck. He absolutely loves red-white. Kassari with a Temple of Mystery here. See, he's got a Sylvan Caryatid out there as well. Chad White, nothing really doing on the first couple turns of the game.
You're pretty rare for this deck. Probably a handful of removal, I'm guessing, and that's not going to be very good against the strategy.
Morph creature. Now, this is one of the actual times where I imagine the opponent doesn't know what it is. They're just going to kill it with a lightning strike, and it's a Sagu Mauler.
There are 3 copies of that card in Kassari's list.
Any other morphs hiding out there?
No.
Man. I was hoping for a Rattleclaw or something.
An Ice Feather even?
I think that every time morphs are in a set, they should have Zoetic Caverns in the set. Just to kind of police people. 'Cause I like Zoetic Caverns. It's my favorite morph of all time.
The land?
Yeah.
It's pretty complicated from a rules perspective.
Well, you're not wrong. I still like it.
It's more interesting than it is cool. And usually when people describe cards as interesting, they're not very good designs. That's interesting. That is really interesting. What does that mean?
Does that apply for people as well, if they're interesting and not cool?
It's a good handhold. It's worse in card design.
Okay. Here's a Storm Breath Dragon going to come across the air for 4. You saw Kassari set his Frontier Siege on Khans, so all the manas in the world here for John. He'll play another Temple. Now we've got some Hornets, some insects, and the Queen.
Some bees.
Absolutely.
Good synergy here with Frontier Siege, either allowing you to get into play ahead of schedule, or later on in the game you can set the dragons and get a big comes into play fight trigger.
You know what that's called?
Good deck building.
Yeah. Here's an Outpost Siege. That one's going to be on Khans as well. It looks like Storm Red Dragon's going to maybe pump the old brakes here.
Yep. Going to take a little while to get through this, if ever.
Kassari will draw. Frontier Siege pumping out the green mana. Let's see what kind of broken stuff John can do.
I think we're interpreting some signs.
Oh, daddy. Chad wants to take a look.
Go big or go home.
Now, my favorite thing with interpreting signs, sometimes you just got to roll the dice. Scry all 3 to the bottom. You only live once.
Yeah, big fan.
You know who told me he did that? This is really going to surprise you.
Gerard Fabiano.
That's correct. It was Gerard. It was Gerard who was interpreting all 3 to the bottom. But it looks like John's going to leave 1 on top. It's a copy of Kiora. So let's have a ball.
So it was opportunity in that spot. Pretty powerful card.
Not bad. Can't be too unhappy.
Opportunity very powerful when your opponent's not up to very much. So can't be too mad about it.
Adrian Sullivan also a big fan of Interpret the Signs in his blue-black control decks. He likes to play Liana, tutor for Interpret the Signs, draw Interpret the Signs for the turn, then tutor again for dig through time, and then cast Interpret the Signs.
Wow.
Yep.
That is sweet.
Here's some healthy attacks. Kassari doing a number on his opponent right now. Second main phase has more green mana thanks to the Frontier Siege. And now it's a Corsair. Take a look at the top card. Uh-oh. That's an Ichthos. Hello.
Have we not gone big enough somehow?
For John, there is no such thing as big enough.
Yeah. Pretty big. Well, now this is the stage of the game where we jump from 9 mana to 16 mana, or whatever. and then start really doing some stuff.
Top card of the deck is a Thornwood Falls. Lightning Strike is the card that has been revealed here to Outpost Siege. Outpost Siege may be a little outclassed right now.
It's a powerful card, but
It is. I've been very impressed when I've seen it in play. But it looks a little outclassed on this board.
these two decks are not playing the same game at this stage.
Not quite. Chad looks like he's going to change something to the rocks here. He'll take care of the insect token to clear the path for Stormbreath Dragon. So when it comes to Dragon, Kassari's going to go down to 13. The follow-up perhaps is a Lightning Strike from the Outpost Siege. We'll see. Deciding how he wants to tap some mana here. There is the strike. Kassari's down to 10 now.
Gonna be very tough to burn Kassari out, though. Of course, their Crewfix, Thornwood Falls. Gonna be challenging. Not impossible, but challenging.
Time for Kassari to untap, draw that Thornwood Falls. Take a look at the top card now. It's a Forest. We're in the draw step. That's where Chad will stop him. Wants to get an idea of what the card is there that Kassari was going to look at. It's a Forest, of course, so Valor Stance will take care, of course, during the draw step. Turn that Forest down.
Although that's not even that bad for John, because John may prefer to play Thornwood Falls this turn anyway.
Yeah.
So it's probably the best thing to do with Valorous Stance at this point in the game anyway. The Indestructible Claw is probably not coming up against a blue-green deck, and you got to kill something, but Kassari's not too mad about it.
Kassari going to tap some mana here. It's a Kiora. Pretty good against Stormbreath Dragon.
It is. Though you can look at Chad's hand right now. You know, he's got the monsters on Stormbreath Dragon still not accounted for. 2 copies of Stoke the Flames in hand. It's going to be tough, but not impossible for him to get this game.
See what else John can put together. He'll play a Thornwood Falls. He'll gain a life. Just one. No Courser in play. He'll pass the turn back over to White. White will reveal a mountain next to the Outpost Siege, and he'll draw a card for the turn. It's a Chain of the Rocks. Mountain will come into play very quickly. That's the easy part of the turn. We'll see what else he can do. He'll just pass for now. Chad wants to get an idea of exactly when does the ability leave on the Kiora.
Yeah, it's significant for his Stormbreath Dragon monstrous activation.
Time to draw. And it looks like in the draw step. It says, how many cards do you have? The answer is currently is 5 for Kassari. So perhaps we see the monstrosity activation on Stormbreath.
Seems like a pretty good spot. You know, John's not going to do something like cast Interpret the Signs while Chad has mana for Stormbreath Dragon available. And if 5 damage goes through, the 2 Stokes are in range. So this feels like a pretty good spot to go ahead and use the monstrosity ability.
Looks like he agrees with you. Stormbreath Dragon, activate monstrosity. Now it's on John to kind of put something together because I still think he's in pretty decent shape this game, but you can feel like he might start to get burned out here.
Well, I'm sure John is aware of what the risks are at this point. The board is pretty well locked up. It's very unlikely he dies to additional creatures. So he's going to do everything in his power to win the game as quickly as possible without playing into burn spells.
Kiora will tick up, hit that Stormbreath Dragon. We'll go back White's way. Looks like Chad may have forgotten his Outpost Siege trigger there.
Yep. And I think the reason that happened was because his turn's already sculpted out in his mind. He's got 7 mana plus a creature. I think he's going to go for double Stoke.
Well, if double Stoke's what he's got, that might be good enough. And you can kind of actually trace this game back to that one turn where Kassari attacked with all of his creatures except for 1 insect. A Chain of the Rocks took care of that insect that, you know, Chad White might not have any use for outside of that interaction. And had Kassari maybe played a little bit more defense, he'd have 4 more life.
It does feel like the 4 points of damage was avoidable, or you would at least have bled a second removal spell out. Because the upside of getting in 1 point of damage versus the risk of getting hit for 4, I don't think that equation really works out in Kassari's favor, because once we get to this stage of the game, he's such a heavy favorite, assuming he doesn't get burned down. The card quality, the power level of these 2 decks are not the same. So,
see how Kassari wants to use this Kiora here. Looks like he wants to maybe take it down, go for the Explore ability. But you mentioned, looks like Chad does have 2 copies of Stoke the Flames in hand. Not sure if John has any counter magic in his deck. I don't think so.
he has 3 copies of Disdainful Stroke.
Oh.
Very well suited for that card in particular.
Okay. I'll give him a shot.
And he has his copies of Corsair Crewfix to gain some life as well. That's his interaction.
It'll tick up. Red zone with everybody.
Really interesting to see the tick up and then the attack saying, my Hornet is worth more than your Stormbreath Dragon. So I'd prefer for them to just bounce off.
Because Stormbreath won't receive any damage or deal anything.
Right.
Stoke the Flames. Sorry, we'll look at his hand. Disdainful Stroke it. There's the block, a safe one. Put him to 1. Still pretty scary territory here.
Yep. Definitely still a winnable game here for Chad.
Battlefield Forge. The draw is a Chandra. Land quickly comes into play. Maybe Kassari gets out of this one alive. We'll see. He's got to Stoke the Flames and a Chandra in hand. He'll start by casting Stoke. Kassari's going to go down to 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. Stoke number 3. That will get the job done.
Very nice.
Chad White's going to win again in 1 here over John Kassari. 3 Stoke the Flames. Certainly necessary there. Red-White aggro up a game here over Blue-Green Ramp.
And as you mentioned earlier, that attack from Kassari early on in the game, taking 4 points from the Stormbreath Dragon, that's probably the difference, because Kassari had a commanding presence on the board by the end of that game. He didn't kill him 1 turn earlier. As a result, Chad went into that turn on 1 life. And that extra turn, that extra draw step, that was the difference.
We'll take a look at the sideboards here, and you get to have all the fun since you have Johns in front of you.
2 copies of Reclamation Stage, a Clever Impersonator, 2 copies of Nissa Worldwaker, 2 Briber's Curse, 4 Negates, 3 Nightlia's Disciples, 1 Back to Nature. I'll take the Negates and the Nightlia's Disciples. Probably the Reclamation Stages as well, as it does some work against Outpost Siege, and can also just trade with random Raoul Masters and Soulfire Grandmasters and the like.
Can't forget about Chain of the Rocks, too.
Another good point.
Yeah. Other side of things, 3 End Hostilities, 2 Arrays, the Chandra Power Master, 3 Ash Cloud Phoenix, 2 Arc Lightnings, 2 Glare Heresies, and 2 copies of Wild Slash.
The only card that really stands out to me here is the Ash Cloud Phoenix. Kassari's deck's not very good at blocking in the air outside of Hornet Queen, so it's a pretty good threat. It can also burn Kassari out. I think the 1 copy of Chandra is also fine for the matchup. Just another copy of Outpost Siege, essentially.
Outpost Siege just continues to impress. Really like that card. So underlooked, too, at the beginning.
It's funny because a lot of people did have the initial reaction of this just seems like a worse Chandra, but you can cast Outpost Siege when you're behind on the board. The same is not true of Chandra or a lot of Planeswalkers, and just being able to cast it no matter what the board looks like that's a huge power. I'm not saying it's necessarily a better card than Chandra. They have different strengths and weaknesses, but Outpost Siege definitely has some merits that Chandra does not, even though on the surface they look like very similar cards.
Well, let's talk SCG game night. I know that some wonderful people on Twitter mentioned that my wolf friend was upside down. I got it taken care of, but sometimes old Boomer just wants to go for a run.
Yeah, he's his own creature, you know? You got to let him roam sometimes.
Yep.
Anyhow, this is the February kit. Every month we come out with new pins and tokens to give out. Doesn't matter what the format is, run it any day of the week that you want, sanctioned or unsanctioned. Just get players into your store for some fun and friendly magic. It's a little too late to get signed up for the March kit, but if you want to get signed up for April, head over to StarCityGames.com/game night or contact your Star City Games organized play representative.
Trying to control a wolf is just a bad idea.
It's true.
I've seen the gray. it's a bad idea. For the record, don't go see that movie.
The Gray?
Yeah.
I do not know what that is.
It's a movie about wolves. Can you infer that from what I'm talking about?
Now, yes.
Okay, good. Liam Neeson.
Okay.
Right? You would think. You would think.
Does he have to go rescue a wolf?
No, so he's under attack from wolves. So he is, I believe he works in Alaska, and he was on a plane that crashed, trapped in the dead of winter, making his way through the dead of winter in Alaska with no hope in sight, and then wolves attack him and his crew.
Liam Neeson catches some really bad beats.
Actually, I think that's...
Daughter gets kidnapped all the time. Freaking just airplane crashes and wolves are there.
I think these are his choices. He chooses these roles.
No, I mean the actor is regularly in positions of danger, which he then gets to extract himself from, often in exciting ways.
So this one, spoiler alert for all of our viewers who may have wanted to see The Gray, it's one of the most depressing movies of all time because at no point during the movie is he able to get out alive. Zero. And you know what happens at the end of the movie? He gets killed by wolves.
Sweet.
That is horrible.
You don't like
There wasn't
bad
even
endings?
like a glimmer of like, yes, he's gonna get out of this. He's figured out a way. There's smoke coming from an imaginary cabin. Nothing.
It's good. You
Just
know why?
the wolves destroy him at the end of the movie.
Because that's what would happen in real life. First of all, if your airplane crashed, you probably wouldn't survive the crash. Second, if it happened in somewhere in the dead north of Alaska or in the northern territory of Canada or wherever this movie is, you would be killed by wolves. It's actually the best case scenario, probably easier than freezing to death. So I can appreciate trying to stay true to reality because that's how it would play out.
I see. So do you want to go see this movie, or have I already given it away?
I would not ever go see this movie.
Okay, you're much smarter than I. I paid money to see this movie.
Would never watch it.
Not smart. But you know what? I can appreciate the work they were trying to do.
Which is just, let's put Liam Neeson in some action movie and just let the money roll in.
Just let him go.
Yeah, some pretty noble artistic goals with that one.
That's what Liam Neeson does now.
Thank goodness they keep on cranking out movies like that.
Taken 1, 2, and 3. How many times can your daughter get taken away?
Yeah, how many, I mean, at some point you just got to start investing in a home security system or, you know what I mean? Like the second time your daughter gets kidnapped, shame on you, I guess. The third time, shame on me.
Indeed. A Thornwood Falls here will bring John up to 21. That's how he'll start game number 2. There's a mountain from Chad and a passing of the turn. Darksteel Citadel into Sylvan Caryatid. Things I thought I'd be saying today.
Yep, that's for synergies with Nissa, as we mentioned earlier.
That's
Make
correct.
that thing indestructible. Good luck.
Seeker of the Way there for Chad. Here's another Thornwood Falls for John. And a morph.
Could be anything.
Absolutely. And it's dead again. One of these days, that Sagu Mauler is going to get to unmorph. It was a turn away from just wrecking havoc on this game.
Playing a morph face down against red-white aggro and just hoping to get to next turn that's a tough recipe.
Does that seem a little unlikely? Maybe. With Wild Slashes and other removal spells just running around.
Chained to the rocks. A lot of Searing Bloods this weekend.
Yeah.
Tough tournament for Sagu Mauler. Face down at least. Cast that thing face up, you're good to go.
Probably a tough turn for the opponent then.
Yeah.
That thing gets the turn face up. It's pretty hard to beat. Saw Chad, of course, gain some life there in that exchange of Seeker of the Way. Did trigger its prowess, which means it also had lifelink. Kassari with 3 lands, a mana accelerant there, and Sylvan Caryatid. And, well, here we go again.
Running it right back.
And dead again. Sagu Mauler really wanted to get the opportunity to play, not being given the shot.
This has not been a great feature match for Sagu Mauler.
Not really.
It has not been great.
Here comes White with another attack for 2. There's a land passing the turn back. So it does make you question the use of Wild Slash then, because then he missed out on the trigger for Seeker.
Well, if he had a 4-mana spell in hand, was hoping to draw a land that came into play untapped, I think that's fine.
Sure.
And the upside is I get Chandra or Outpost Siege in play a turn earlier. I would roll the dice, for sure.
Oh, so now some people on Twitter are telling me that it's left up in the air on if he died or not to the wolves.
Is the final sim him being attacked by wolves?
So it's like a wolf versus him, and I believe he's got like some glass like roped onto his hands. He's built like some brass knuckles out of glass and just like a wolf growling at him, and then some very intense facial shots, and then the movie cuts to black. Like we don't know what happened.
Right. I'm gonna go ahead and put Wolf as heavy favorite in that match.
Heavy favorite. It's really.
It's Lands versus Storm. It's not 100%, but I'm never betting on the land side of the table.
Yeah, it's Sagumala versus Red-White Aggro.
Right.
That's what it is. It's 90-10 in favor of Red-White Aggro.
Listen, if you play Sagumala face up, that's pretty powerful against them. Can't kill it, can't attack through it.
Right. If Liam Neeson finds a gun in Alaska, he's probably okay against the wolf.
Well, I imagine he still freezes to death. I don't know how you escape that.
Through will alone. That's how these things work.
Yeah.
Land number 5 is a Yapamaya Coast. Here's a Chandra, a trigger. This is a Disdainful Stroke. So Kassari's hand is super reactive, but he's having some real trouble with this Seeker.
Well, his hand is just a lot of expensive spells. He hasn't found that much mana acceleration, not anything to bridge the gap here. So he's just waiting for more mana to show up. And in the meantime, he's taking a lot of pot shots.
Yeah.
And for people who thought that Soulfire Grandmaster would just invalidate Seeker of the Way. Seeker of the Way is a 3/3 for most of the turns it's been attacking. A huge part of why Chad is doing well in this game. It was a 2/2 just getting blunted by the Sylvan Caryatid. Might have had the luxury to just wait until he could cast Agumala face up, for example.
John might be at 20.
Right.
Or something very close to it. There's Aether Spouts. That'll put the Stormbreath Dragon back on top of the deck. Some momentary reprieve from that creature.
Yeah, but Chad rather is going to run that right back next turn.
There's Frontier Siege. Better late than never, eh?
Yes. I mean, he gets to Ugin next turn, but there might be already too much damage dealt if he takes this hit and goes to 7.
Disdainful Stroke is timely. All right. And no attack. Looks like maybe Chad missed out on 2 points of damage there. And now it could be Ugin time. And it is.
When is it not Ugin time?
Ugin's going to take care of the Seeker. It's going to take up. We'll pass the turn back. Perhaps we're working our way towards the ultimate with this. 7 life would certainly be nice here for Kassari.
And 7 permanents out of John's deck is going to be pretty nice, too.
Yeah. There's a land and a passing of the turn. Kassari going to quickly untap. Frontier Siege is going to work now. Elevator got to be going up. It's up to 11 now. The Ghostfire will deal Chad White 3 points of damage, which means the ultimate here on Ugin will be available next turn. All of a sudden, this game's gotten very interesting as Chad White's going to sacrifice what looks to be the Evolving Wilds.
And John has Negate as backup, too.
So it was looking like a terrible game. Oh, no. Is this another? This is a morph feature match.
Ho-ho. Could be anything.
I have deduced what it is. Took me a moment, as here's a Lightning Strike. That is going to get countered. Leave my Ugin alone, please and thank you. That morph, by the way, Ash Cloud Phoenix.
Yes.
Took me a second. Don't see that side of the Phoenix very often. Another Lightning Strike here in Chad's hand. I know he doesn't want to have to Lightning Strike that Ugin, but you also don't want that thing to go ultimate, my friend.
I just don't know how he wins from this position, because if he Lightning Strikes and sets Ugin down to 8, John goes, all right, untap, I'll go ahead, I'll shoot your Ash Cloud Phoenix. Doesn't come back.
He might be in the old no-win situation here.
Ugin's up to 10. I actually think there might be an argument for just not even showing Ash Cloud Phoenix, because you might get some surprise value out of the next game.
Yeah. At this point, he actually has to show it. Because when you concede the game, you have to show your morphs. So I understand what you're saying. I might not even cast it as a morph or anything and just concede the game, because there's no coming back here from Ugin. And John said, come on, man, just let me go ultimate.
Nope.
Let me get those cards, gain that life, put 7 permanents into play. Don't you want to see what my deck can do? And Chad said, I'm good.
I'll never do it. I'll never let the opponent in a feature match just get to have fun at my expense. No chance. Like the concession there.
Your classic move by you.
Yep.
Got to get out of there as soon as you can.
I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees, you know? just gonna pack that game up.
Your terms.
Yeah, my terms.
That's right. That's important.
I don't know.
Important.
Maybe you have, a fraction of a % chance to win there with Ugin going ultimate, Maybe the top 20 cards of John's deck lands. Don't care. Still would rather concede.
A man with so much pride.
Principles. It's not pride. It's principles.
Well, we'll take a brief moment before game number 3 to talk about our IQ program, of course. Very popular stuff all across the country, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. We run the Premier IQs every Sunday for the 2 formats that aren't the main event, but you can run IQs at your local store. There's all different sorts of tiers for them, depending on, how long you've been with the Star City Games program and how large you anticipate the tournament being. And we send out these kits with exclusive play mats, dice bags, pins, premium vouchers for people who are either attending the event or finishing the top 8. A great route for players to either get involved with more local organized play, qualify for the Invitational, or in some cases, qualify for the Players' Championship.
That's what it's all about. We had some players do that last year. IQ certainly helped. Jim Davis playing IQs this weekend.
Absolutely.
He knows. He wants to go back.
Crew?
Yeah, he wants to go back to that Players' Championship. Logan Mai, Stephen Mann, that helped them get there too. So you can get these in your store. Not hard to do. StarCityGames.com for more information. As more people are chiming in about The Gray, I've really stirred something up here.
Is it a popular movie?
It can't be. It's really bad.
People love Liam Neeson, though. He is a popular guy.
He's a big deal. He's a big deal. So you know, the wolf does die. There is an end scene after the credits of the wolf dying. I don't appreciate that being a thing.
That is some absolute hackery.
That's exactly what that is.
The ending of the movie should be at the end of the movie, not after the credits. That is Bush league. That's Bush. That's what that is.
Also, given the movie where the plane has crashed, these guys are in the dead of winter for some extended amount of time. Mm-hmm. The movie is about 2 hours long, maybe 90 minutes. Let's say it's been about 2 or 3 days. He has the strength to do battle against a wolf?
Oh,
really?
It's preposterous.
Look, I'm a big fan of the Fast and Furious series, so suspension of disbelief is kind of a thing, okay? But this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, Fast and Furious is sort of wallowing in the lack of reality to some extent.
I would be careful what you say next.
Just saying.
I would tread rather lightly.
No, it's fine. I'm saying that it's fine for the Fast and Furious movies to take certain liberties because that's sort of the point.
What's not real about what's happening?
A variety of things.
Go on.
General principles of physics, the plot arcs and characters of all the movies. I don't know. A lot.
Okay. You don't think that they could drag a giant safe through a crowded street? Or that someone could just get a tank and drive them around and shoot other things in cars and they can dodge it? Is that what you're trying to say?
I'm saying that it doesn't pass the sniff test.
Okay.
But that's fine because that's sort of the point of the franchise. This wolf movie you're describing doesn't sound like it's quite the same thing. Sorry to digress here. I cannot believe the things you watch sometimes. No judgment, I guess, but it still blows me away.
I'm being judged right now, so...
No, people should do whatever makes them happy. You like the movie, that's fine. I'm just surprised, that's all.
They're just great movies. Fast and the Furious, fantastic. World Wrestling Entertainment, fantastic.
Both of them have a time and a place.
That's
else? Definitely true.
What other bad things do I watch?
I don't know. I'm sure if I went through the archives, I would find some.
I was a big fan of the Power Rangers when I was a kid. Is that okay?
You were a kid. Doesn't even count.
Good answer. What if I was watching them when I was like 12?
You're pushing up against it where it's no longer okay, but it's still okay.
All right. Good to know. My TV choices, I'm going to admit, not great. Not great. But I don't watch a lot of TV. When I do watch of it, I enjoy it. That's all that matters to me.
Yeah.
Judge away, friend.
Wasn't judging, to clarify.
I feel like
I'm
I've
just surprised.
Been judged. It's just, I only have so much time, Patrick. I have to do the things I enjoy.
No, and you're not going to find any disagreement from me about this.
If it's Vin Diesel acting poorly and driving around a car very quickly, so be it. So be it.
He's acting as best he can.
Which is horrifying. Truly horrifying.
Better than me, I think.
I don't think that's true. I think you could do better. Evolving Wilds is going to search up a plains here. Kassari starts off with a disgusting white bordered forest.
Yep.
Inexcusable.
Listen, you want to make a good impression on camera? You want to have some fun with Ugin? Let's start with getting some reasonable basic lands. You want to look good on camera.
Depends on what you're trying to accomplish. Seeker of the Way. There's Sylvan Caryatid. This sub-game. Hiya! No block.
Good attack. It's a freebie. I think the follow-up here is Burmaz, so.
It's a pretty good follow-up, actually. Yeah, there is a good follow-up. And here's the thing about these blue-green decks. They don't have, like a Wrath effect. No Perilous Vaults hanging out or anything like that. So Kassari's in some real trouble. Now, that's an important card to have here on turn 3.
Yeah, he may just go way too big. And that's the plan here. Even if he can't answer Chad's board conventionally, he can just ramp to a fast Ugin. And as we saw last game, Kassari was getting rocked the whole time.
Oof, but a timely erase is going to take care of the Frontier Siege. That's also going to trigger the Seeker. And now here's a big attack for 7 points of damage.
This is a disaster now because John was already behind on the board, and his real big way of catching up is something like Ugin or Hornet Queen.
Yep.
And now that's been pushed off for at least a couple turns.
You have to imagine the plan was to go from 2 mana to 4 mana to 7 to play the Queen, and that would be the roadblock, and that just got blown up real bad by erase. I don't know what Kassari can do because he's under the gun in a really bad way here.
Well, even something like Corsair or Crewfix is not a horrible play in this spot. It does allow him to block a little bit. But he is at 11, facing a pretty advanced board and far away from getting to any of his substantial cards.
And again, Chad doesn't have to worry about a Master of Removal spell. That's the nice thing about playing against this deck.
He does have to worry about Aether Spouts. He saw that card.
True.
He does have to be very careful if Kassari leaves up 5 mana.
See, look at me. I'm thinking about how he doesn't have to worry about Crux of Fate or End Hostilities, and he could run face forward into an Aether Spouts. There's another Frontier Siege. See if Kassari wants to play the Elvish Mystic in his hand. He will. Looks like he'll have to tap, I believe, his Caryatid to cast. No, he gets the green mana.
Yeah, he gets it right away.
Yep, my fault.
Both of the main phases.
My sincerest apologies. Let's see what this is going to be. Chain of the Rocks.
You can see Stoke the Flames in hand. I believe Arc Lightning as well. Just a lot of burn now in Chad's hand, and even with Ugin, even if John has Ugin or Hornet Queen next turn, it might not be enough.
Yeah, Ugin may just not be good enough here. You're right. And with 2 spells played, Seeker's a 4/4, so blocking that might be out the window.
I mean, Kassari just might have to chump block, period, because could he take 4 from the Seeker and 3 from Burmaz?
I don't think so.
Yeah, he's on 8 right now, so he has to block one of the big ones.
Yep. If you're going to block one of the big ones, you have to block the biggest one, I think,
right,
which is the Seeker. Take 5, go to 3, and there's a Stoke to finish it up. There's your block. Caryatid's going to bite the dust. White's going to gain some more life. You see the Stoke the Flames in his hand. He'll pass the turn back, sitting pretty comfortably. Kassari will draw. He'll get some mana from Frontier Siege here in the first main phase. Second one, too, if we get there. There's Nykthos. There's a Hornet Queen. Unfortunately for John, it's just too slow. There's Stoke the Flames. That's going to get the job done. Chad White's going to beat John Kassari here 2-1. Red-White Aggro will take care of Blue-Green Ramp. Red-White Aggro isn't a deck that we see a lot of on camera because I don't see a lot of name players playing in our tournaments. But that's how good the deck is. As the deck isn't endorsed by a lot of name players, and it's still destroying people.
So, that match is a perfect summary of why Red-White Aggro decks are good and why aggro decks can be good in general.